Yeah, there we go. There we go. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Welcome back, friends. Nice to see you. Look at us. Look at you. Look at me. Look at us. Look at this. Look at that. Day before Armageddon, we're going to get a big snowstorm here in the GTA over the next couple of days. They lied about the last one, so don't know if it's going to happen. The only weather person I trust is Anthony Farnell. That's the only weather person I'll trust. So I'm going to send him a note. I'm going to say, Anthony, what's the deal? He'll tell me the truth. But we're supposed to get some snow over the next couple of days. Still not bad here in the beautiful city of Toronto, which is where I am encamped. We go to Edmonton, Alberta, which is where we find Lachlan Cross today, 957 Cruise FM in Edmonton, where I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there is a deep freeze running through Western Canada that's like between minus 45. There you go. Right now, Edmonton, Alberta, minus 29 degrees Celsius. You know how cold that is? Because I do. That's like don't open your eyes cold. That's like teeth ache cold. That's like plug your car in cold, even if you're running in to grab a coffee cold. That is incredible.
I've told this story before, and I'll tell it again. Mm-hmm. I recently had a conversation with my wife about the possibility of like how long are we here for, right? And then
on this planet.
No. I mean, in Edmonton. I mean, what are we doing here? Like, are we staying? Like, this a retirement place? Like, what do we do? Like, what are we doing? Right. Yeah. That led to a move, downsizing, and it just sort of, at least it started the conversation about why do we do this? Yeah. Like, why am I living here? And this is my radio career. This is where it's taken me. First gig, Edson. Second gig, Fort McMurray. Like the anus of the planet.
That's like, being nice. It's more like the gooch and the anus kind of in
Prince
one
George
position.
Smells like the anus of the planet.
It's the chode.
Winnipeg.
Ooh. The
Edmonton.
armpit of Canada. Yeah.
And I'm like, why isn't like Arizona or Phoenix? Why aren't stations from the like right? I'm good.
I know.
Why aren't like, and she goes, well, honey, you're not really a sunny disposition DJ.
So she said. She believes in you, dude. She really believes in your broadcast.
She's behind me.
Yeah, she is probably. Actually, she's right behind you right now.
No, she's not. But I know she's downstairs working.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the thing about the weather that we have here is, I've got Stockholm syndrome now. I used to get angry about it. Now I just go about it's so freaking cold here right now. It's nuts, Dean.
It's oppressive.
This morning, it was minus 45 with the wind chill. Like, that's not a joke. That's exactly what it was when I drove into work this morning.
You know what it is? Listen, you know what it is? It's never been that cold out there. I think it's the good Lord paying back Western Canada for delivering the convoy to Ottawa. That's what I think it is.
It always has been this cold.
Mother Nature's like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to put you in a deep freeze for like 2 months.
The only thing that is good about this latest deep freeze is that it's not going to sink its teeth in for 2 weeks. It looks like it's going to ease up. Tomorrow is supposed to be minus 23 for the daytime high.
Ooh, lovely.
And then minus
downright balmy
18. Well, I'll take that. Man.
Yeah, but if you haven't lived out west, so I've lived out west, right? Grew up out west. If you haven't grown up out west, if you haven't plugged your car in, if you haven't walked outside and heard your jeans crinkle in the first 3 seconds, if you haven't broken a shoe, like literally if your shoe hasn't broken because it was so cold the material snapped, if those things haven't happened to you, you don't know what it's like. And when you live out west and you come here, or you live in northern Ontario and you come here, it's a dry cold. It's a dry cold. It's not oppressive. It's almost like you question. I remember when I was a kid, because we immigrated from England. My dad was like, he looked at me once, and we lived in St. Paul, Alberta, Canada. And he's like, why the fuck did we move here? We could have moved anywhere. We came from England. We could have gone anywhere. We came to the center of hell, he said to me. And I'm like, yeah, where are we moving next? Next move, Regina, Saskatchewan. Was that a lot of fun? Next move after that, Rosetown, Saskatchewan. Ooh, delightful. Prairie. Next move after that, Calgary was fucking balmy because you get the Chinooks to come over the mountains. Anyway, if you haven't lived through a Western, what's that?
They're getting it in the hoop today too. Yeah, it's minus 30 down there today as well. Yeah.
Well, We're going to warm people up today. We've got lots to get to. Jedi Jimmy's going to stop by. We're going to talk about his Star Wars podcast. That'll be fun. My friend Emily from Muse Massage is going to be in to talk about her services around the Christmas season. You need to de-stress. We got you covered. But our next guest is someone that I have. You know how you grow up.
Fits into the theme. Massage parlors and Star Wars.
Yes,
nerds.
Absolutely. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot going on all over the place. But you know when
we
you
have themes in our shows, all our guests,
exactly,
they're interconnected.
not the first one. The first guest we have today is not connected to the next part of the show. This is a totally separate guest.
Okay.
And the reason why is because he's like the gentleman.
Paul's not into kinks.
No, I don't know.
He's not here to talk about kinks.
I don't think he is. No, and he's not here to talk about how cold it is. But he is from the suit.
I misunderstood.
He has experienced the freezing cold weather. He does understand. He spent his entire lifetime in hockey rinks, and he's one of my favorite broadcasters of all time. 41 years in television, 16, 17 doing the Leafs television broadcast. Called it a career a couple of years ago in the pandemic bubble. Please welcome to the program one of my favorite broadcasters, Mr. Paul Hendrick, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, I know this guy,
right? Everyone knows him. Everybody
knows
him.
Yeah. You look familiar.
So we're familiar.
So we're doing the kink show tomorrow.
Not with Paul. No.
Yeah,
we're leaving you out of that, Paul. I would never subject your sterling reputation to any content like that. Just so
Thank you, gentlemen. I was once described as a warm pair of slippers to Leaf viewers, so I'll take that. You look. I think it's just respect for the players and those who performed in the game, and you can ask questions in a variety of ways and still get the same answer. But it's just nice to treat everybody with respect. I know that doesn't always get the ratings, but it kept me employed for 41 years. So it's a privilege to have done that, and it's a privilege to be alongside you guys because you guys are both truly entertaining.
Oh man, I appreciate that. Lots of mutual respect for you on Twitter. It's kind of where you and I hooked up. It's kind of one of the great things about Twitter. If you can like not pay attention to all the hatred, division, all the trolling and the bots. If you can just I met Paul Hendrick, one of my favorite broadcasters. He was the Leaf broadcaster for 16, 17 years. And I want to deal with your bio first. This is a very brave statement. Paul Hendrick at Henny tweets, a big fan of people. Like still or
it was about almost a year ago, February, and Ian Mendes, journalist in Ottawa, was talking about the convoy coming through Belleville en route to Ottawa, and I just said I assume they all play right wing because that's where Ottawa's farm team is, and I got a response about an hour later that I'd like to punch that smug smile off your face, and I'll tell you, it really concerned me, and I sort of backed off from that point on and was just a spectator because it was just a comment. And then I see you guys going at it on a daily basis. Wow.
Yeah. Well, gone are the days, Paul.
Man.
Like you left. When did you retire? 2 years ago? Is that correct?
July 15th, 2020.
2020. So 2 years ago, July 15th. Let's just quickly get into that, and then we can morph into how people have changed, and if you're still a big fan of them, because so you know, not so much over here. However. Like dogs, I'm a big dog fan, right? Like dogs over people any day of the week. But when you find good people, you're like, that's a good. But there's nothing better than a good person. But it's hard to find really good people. And when you walked away from the game, it was a very simple tweet. When you walked away from your career, and it just encapsulated the kind of gentleman I think you are, and that everybody who knows you says you are. Where you said hockey and covering the Maple Leafs has been a privilege. But it's time now to move on. I want to thank Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment for a great adventure. The players, the coaches, management, my dear colleagues over the years. And thank you, Leafs Nation. Your passion is unparalleled. Have you always been this humble? Have you always been this individual? Because when you left, there's a lot of people that will go, this happened and that happened. And you said it was a mutual thing on behalf of both Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment and yourself. But you're a throwback is my point. Have you always been this way?
Well, I think it was just a privilege to get there. I mean, I grew up in Noranda, Quebec, met Dave Keon 3 weeks after the Conn Smythe Trophy. Sorry, I'm just getting a bit of feedback here, guys. But 3 weeks after he won the Conn Smythe in 1967, I was the altar boy at his dad's funeral. I mean, grew up cheering for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then, lo and behold, all those many years later, you get a chance and you're flying on the team charter, or you're sitting on a team bus behind Pat Quinn, and over to his left is Ken Dryden. And you realize just how fortunate you are to be able to get to do this and to do it for as long as I did. And it was just a fantastic time. And we always know there's never a bad day in the National Hockey League, as tough as things can be. And there were some tough years covering that Maple Leaf Hockey Club. But I just realized how hard I worked to get that far. And if you treat people with the right degree of respect, you're going to last a long time. And I think we all want to be treated with respect. I think when it all comes down to it. So to get back to the humility part, yes, I was just overwhelmed with the fortunate luck I had received through the course of my career, and to get to do that and meet so many, many great people. I was at the Leaf Tampa Bay game last night, my first game in person since, Leafs in Tampa Bay, March 10th, 2020. And
just so you know, some people tweeted me and they're like, I'm sitting next to Paul Hendrick. I just want you to know. Last night at the game.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
It was like going to my first game all over again. It was like Leafs in Minnesota back in 1972 when I got to Maple Leaf Gardens to see Cesar Maniago take on Jacques Plante. I'll never forget that, the brightness of the lights. And it was just fun not to have to work that game, but to look at it and those two outstanding hockey clubs going head to head in what looked like and felt like a playoff matchup. So you never lose that passion. And amongst all the passion are the people walking into the rink, old ushers that I haven't seen in years coming over, hugs and all that sort of thing. It was really, really, it felt good. It was redeeming. And so to get back to the humility part, I know it's a long answer that should have been shorter. You just got to treat people with respect. You'll get it back. And to get a chance to do that for a living as long as I did, blessed, and I had gone to heaven.
Before we get to lock, is that your first time back? First time back watching a game since you retired? In 2 years, that was your first game. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What, you just didn't want to go before? Or was it too tough, or were you just happy to be there?
I was good. When you go to every game, home and away, and every practice, it's good to get away from the rink. I always said I don't miss the grind, but I miss the people. And my brother-in-law called yesterday and said, "Hey, I've got a few extra tickets. Are you in?" I said, "I am in." Hopped on the subway, and then went down, and it was all what it was supposed to be, and then some. But I felt like a fan again, and that to me is the best part.
Oh, good for you. That's a different experience, right? You're not taking an Uber to the game. You're not driving to the game. You're not parking. You're not working. You're not prepping. You got to ride the subway, and then you got to go to the game. Like, that's the experience, right?
It is. And not that whole night before and day of making sure you've got that opening rehearsed. And I mean down, Mark Askin in my ear, our producer, 8-second segments and either throwing up to Joe and Harry and back down to myself or nailing it, being on the ice. I remember Matt Stage and Calgary Flames are skating by and him giving me a two-hander across the back of my calves. Fun and games, like just having some fun. But the emotion of trying to slow your heart rate down and nailing that thing, because if you didn't nail it, but yeah, you work hard enough to make sure that you are going to nail it. But just the nerves that go on with it. You enjoy what you do, but
after 40 years, really, like after 40 years, you still would go to the rink. You would still get nervous. You would prep the same way. Like, see, this is the thing you're describing, like a professional broadcaster. You are a professional broadcaster. You took that very seriously. And what I find interesting is that you still had nerves after 40 years where you're like, okay, I got to prep this. I got to practice the open. Okay, 8 seconds. Boom, nailed it. Like there aren't many people. Like, a lot of guys will get hubrisy at some point, maybe year 30, year 20. It happened to me at year 3, where I'm like, I can just walk in and do whatever I want. Turns out you can't. So anyway, good for you.
Jim Cuddy once said to me, I remember talking to him, he was a huge Leaf fan, and we were out in Edmonton, and it was, pre-Christmas, and they're doing their Western Canadian swing, and I asked him if he ever got nervous, and they said he got so nervous to a point. They were a big music conference outside of Austin, and they were so nervous, and him so nervous that it ruined his performance. And he said at that point on, he realized you got to realize you're having fun. You've got to separate that anxiety, if you want to call it that, and just get into the role, be a part of the role. And I did, obviously, but you still have to talk yourself into lower your heart rate. Just take a deep breath. Just just relax and get into it. And that's from like a seasoned pro like Jim Cuddy. And I took that to heart. And, you see some of the kids, Kyle on a Sportsnet, formerly a CBC, good Western Canadian kid, Bakakis, what a professional he is. And some of the other great ones like Ray Ferraro and Gord Miller, and I can go on Chris Cuthbert, just how great they are, and truly understand the talent that's involved with what they do beyond the work ethic. They're just really good, and they're good people, but really good journalists.
Locke,
can I shift gears just a little bit, Paul, and get into your thoughts about where the game is? I have been a hockey fan like most Canadians my whole life, and I think I think I've gone through stages of conspiracy thinking, that Bettman is holding Canadian teams back, and that he might actually be Satan. Also, different sort of thought processes. I'm at this point lately where I think the Canadian game and the Canadian teams have never been stronger as a whole, and I'm very excited for this upcoming year. But just as a fan now, looking at the game and having a very different perspective of it from sitting on a couch with a beer in your hand, how do you feel about where the game is in Canada right now?
I agree with you. I think we're getting better as a whole. Montreal's got a little ways to go. I'm just going to work my way east to west, but they've got some quality pieces, as do the Ottawa Senators, some extreme quality pieces. Now, they've run into some key injuries to some guys up front and on the blue line. Their goaltending's okay. Their defense isn't that good, and that's got to get better. But that group, they all have to grow. I can then speak of Toronto with the core group that they've got, starting, with William Nylander, and then they drafted, of course, Mitch Marner, and then Austin, and then you signed John Tavares. You've got that core four, and then Morgan Riley on the back end. That whole group now have been together for 7 years and beyond. They've evolved. They've matured. They're playing a defensive brand of hockey that Mike Babcock only wished they could have played when he had them. Yeah. Sheldon Keefe now has them at this key point in time. And the reason the Leafs might go further than ever in a long time is because of their defensive acumen, not their offense. Winnipeg is now looking like it's becoming a solid hockey club once again. And then out west in Alberta, I know it's been a little difficult with the Oilers. You've got the big two, but beyond that, there's really a drop off. And I'm going to include Zach Hyman with the big two, and then they'll get Evander Kane back, and they're going to get better as well. And the West is a little bit weaker, the Pacific, so that might buy them enough time to get back into it and get into a bit of a run. But their goaltending hasn't been great, unfortunately, and their defense has been suspect. I suspect Calgary's going to get better before too long, and then out west in Vancouver, I think it's going to be a fire sale soon, and they're going to have to just bring it down, rebuild yet again, and draft well. The Leafs tore it completely down, but got fortunate. Not all first-round picks work. William Nylander would have been traded out of Toronto years ago if Leafs Nation had its way. Right now, he's one of the premium players in the National Hockey League. So
he's a bargain. He's a bargain right now.
Under $7 million, Dean. So he is an absolute bargain. And so you got to have patience. You got to have good drafting. And you've got to stay the course for a long period of time. But that said, I know the teams in Montreal and Ottawa are going to get better. Out west in Edmonton, you'd hate to see that top pairing and then the money they've spent on Zach to see that fall aside before too long. And hopefully they can augment the rest of that group to complement that elite group because they're certainly capable of doing a lot.
Can we put an asterisk on Nuge's name too? Just because I think Nuge brings something to the table as well. I mean, Hyman definitely worth mentioning.
And Nuge as well, and he's been there. He's just just understated, and much like a William Nylander, for in terms of the money, getting a lot of product and value. And I know Nuge plays out west; those games are all out west. If he played here in Eastern Canada, he is a household name, but he'd be a real household name if he played in Eastern Canada, as opposed to Western Canada, where those games are 2 to 3 hours later for most viewers in this part of the country.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Let's stay in Edmonton real quick. You've got to watch Jack Campbell play. You know how important he is to a room, his attitude, how much people love him. Like, I never saw Austin Matthews come alive more than when everybody's like, tell us about Jack Campbell and how he played. His like face would light up. You wanted him to be successful. And it has gone very poorly for him. What is your assessment of that? Is it all in that poor man's head right now? Because I think if you know him and if you've ever met him and if you know anything about him, you can't root against him. You don't want him to do poorly. You want it to go well for him. Doesn't matter what fan base you're from, specifically if you're a Leaf fan, because you know the quality of individual Jack Campbell is, right?
You said it right away, between his ears. It's all in his head. And no one beats himself up more and takes more on his shoulders than Jack Campbell does, especially if he lets in a bad goal. The goal Gallagher scored on him in Game 7 a few years ago in the playoffs, and Toronto eventually lost that game. Jack took that series loss on his shoulders entirely, and that goal really was the final straw. And I know Leaf therapists and coaches had to talk him off the proverbial shelf that entire summer to get him ready for when he came back to camp, because it ate him up that much. I can't imagine how Jack is feeling given the contract he has signed for the next 4 years beyond this and not being able to perform up to what he should be able to perform. His goalies are a different bunch, but he wears his heart on his sleeve. There's no nicer guy to talk with, no better person in the dressing room than Jack Campbell. I know all of us out here in Eastern Canada who've supported the Leafs only wish Jack Campbell success, and much sooner than later. Whether it's going to happen this year, I don't know. The Leafs have a couple of goaltenders who are on the sort of the curb and the recyclable bin this past offseason as well. They've found a new home, and it's working for them. But the Leafs play a better brand of defensive hockey than Jack's seeing with the Edmonton Oilers right now. That's just it, plain and simple. Second fewest goals against. That's not only on behalf of the goaltenders, but that's the team and its approach in front of them. And the Oilers are going to have to see more of that. But Jack's going to have to be better. I think he's going to be better, but he just churns it. He mentally, cerebrally, all that you want to say, he churns it. And the sports psychologists are having a field day with him, and that's okay. We all need those from time to time. Jack just needs a little bit more of it this year, but he's going to get better.
Someone should put me in a room with him. I honestly think I could help him out.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea.
I truly believe that I could help turn Soup around. First off, if he's feeling guilty about that $5 million deal, I could tell him all the reasons why I could be a complete inhuman bastard if somebody paid me that kind of money.
Yeah, just tell him not to feel bad for it because it costs like $20 a beer just to get him there. Just to let him know, hey, it's okay. All you're doing is taking Daryl Cates' money. It's not a big deal. It's not that big of a deal. But you feel bad for the human being. I think that's the sea change, right? We saw it yesterday, and like even last night. I'm watching the game, Paul. And Michael Bunting, of course, is in the middle of it, right? Because Michael Bunting loves to get in the middle of it. And I wanted your thoughts on this because this was like everybody freaked out. Everybody freaked out at Dan Kelly, the referee, right? Now, Dan Kelly has a history in the NHL of like blowing guys up. So getting physical with the player as a referee is not that big of a deal to him. But your thoughts on this, because I've seen a couple of examples where like society has gotten very soft. Specifically when Sheldon Keefe said, hey, our hottest players aren't our hottest players at the start of the year. And like Leaf Nation made him apologize to the players. You remember that? And then now I want your impression of this whole thing. This is Michael Bunting versus Dan Kelly, referee last night in the game. Let's watch it together. There you go. He's like, get off the ice. You got a penalty. Now he gets handsy. Stripes gets a little handsy. He's like literally shouting. Now, I personally didn't have a problem with it, but I'm not a referee or an NHLer. But then I started watching and hearing all the pundits, Paul, go, Dan Kelly needs to be put on notice. Dan Kelly needs to be docked a game. Your thoughts on Dan Kelly doing his job last night and where we're at with softness in the NHL?
I would have liked to have seen him try that with Darcy Tucker. I don't think Tux would have been as obliging. I was at that game in Albany, the Marley playoff game, when Andreas Jansson's coming one way, Kelly's coming this way, and then at the last moment, up goes the elbow, and Andreas was put into outer space space, and I'm surprised his head didn't come off. I don't think he played the rest of the year. In fact, he went back to Sweden, but they just brought him over from Sweden. And I know the American Hockey League, Dave Andrews, who was then the president of the AHL, came down hard on Kelly because they want talent coming to their league. They don't want thuggery that, like we saw that night in Albany, ruining their game. And they want to open up the game to make it as entertaining as possible. You still have to have sandpaper in there, but it was just a blatant elbow to the side of Andreas's head, and really impacted his career for the short term. He was back at it the following year in 2018, led the Marlies to a Calder Cup championship, but it could have ended his career. Without a doubt, it could have ended his career. Sheldon Keefe certainly knows him. He had him in Pembroke for a year or two, if I recall. Kelly's just a fringe hockey player with the ability to fight and play rough, and all teams need that. So it didn't surprise me to see the way he handled Michael Bunting last night. I would assume that Kelly's carriers talked to him and would say, go about that a different way the next time. Especially in Toronto, center stage. It doesn't matter where it is now. All the games are televised, so I don't see him acting the same way. And I get a kick out of Bunting. He took a puck to the face of practice the day before. That's why he's all cut up. But even Bunting's a Scarborough guy. Even he couldn't understand the way he was treated.
What are you doing?
He's like, what are you doing, Stripes? Why are you coming after me? Why are you shoving me into, like, he literally almost leveled him, which I kind of thought. But it's like, the Leafs are on this incredible heater, right? Like, what are the points in 15 of 16 games? Lost a couple last night. They beat like a dynasty team. It's still a great team and a great goaltender. They outshot that team 40-19, right? It was if it wasn't for the empty netter at some point. But this team feels different. Everybody says it, Paul. Everybody says this Leafs team feels different. Ryan's saying it. He's laughing at me because
I'm laughing at Lachlan because I was going to say, if you need stats, just ask Lachlan. He'll be able to tell you because
he knows nothing about stats
religiously.
But no, he just hates the fact
I have a follow-up question, please. I'd like to get on the board.
I'm sure you do. But let me get to Henny first. So at Henny tweets, by the way, Paul Hendrick, give him a follow on Twitter. But this team feels different. You made mention of it. Defense first. I made note looking up Austin Matthews stats before I came on. 17 goals, 21 assists. He's never had more assists than goals in any season. I mean, there's a buy-in here that's palpable, right? And you're seeing it. But the buy-in has to come with a couple of great stories. William Nylander's a great story. Mitch Marner's streak was a great story. Austin Matthews with more assists than goals is a great story. But to me, the story here is Samsonov for nothing, who's played like a Vezina candidate, and Matt Murray, whose salary, by and large, is being paid by the Ottawa Senators down the road, who is playing like he played in his rookie season when he won a Stanley Cup with the Pittsburgh Penguins. What's your story? Because each team that goes places has to have, obviously, a team that's built well, but you got to have some nice stories too. What are your stories this year? What are you following where you're like, this team is different because of these reasons, and we didn't expect these things to happen?
Overall team defense. I think back to some of those Pat Quinn teams, and the one in 01-02 that went to the Cup conference final, and there's Sundin, McGillney, Neuendijk, Roberts, Tucker, McCabe, Cabriolet, Thomas. That was really a team. This team has finally turned into that sort of team. And I go back to the 92, 93, 94 at least. That had a balanced team outlook as well, but with the emphasis on defense. The Leaf teams in years past, and you just talked about it, Dean, with Austin with more assists than goals. He'd like to score more goals. I mean, he's top 5 in the league in terms of shots on net. But the fact of the matter is there's a greater adherence, I think, to 200 feet of ice, and everybody has bought into that. What amazed me last night, and you don't really get to see it on television, is the sticks, the active sticks. Justin Hall, Connor Timmins, Mark Giordano is just outstanding. Really, and TJ Brody, another great defenseman.
He's a magician with his stick, though. Like, his stick work is the best in the league. It has been for years. Ever since he got to Toronto, I had no idea who he was, and I'm like, his stick is like having a 6th guy on the ice with him and his stick.
Oh, and they turn it over and boom, quick first pass, transition out of their zone, and up come the Leafs. The other thing was, and that defense and the narrow gaps between the forwards and the defense last night, Tampa wasn't given an opportunity to get a cycle going. Now, not for the first two periods. Third period, things changed. The ice started to tilt. But they got the goaltending to keep pucks out and enable them to eventually get the two empty net goals. So the optics on what could have been a loss turned out to be a nice day of celebration and knowing that you've beaten one of the best teams in the league. But I think it's just the adherence to overall team defense. Sheldon Keefe has got them to buy into it. I know Babs wanted that, couldn't get it. But given how young those players were at that stage of their careers, it wasn't going to happen. So you go with what you can go with, and that is offense. Some of Pat Quinn's teams, he had Curtis Joseph in nets. I remember a game in Dallas where it was just pin the ears back and go crazy. In fact, the Stars won the Stanley Cup that year. They beat Dallas in Dallas. Steve Sullivan, a hat trick. Stumpy Thomas, another couple of goals. It was an outstanding game, but the Leafs were outshot 45-18. But they had great goaltending back the other way. Leaf goaltending, it's very good. The goaltenders last night, each of those guys have won 2 Stanley Cups. Vasilevsky's going to the Hall of Fame. I don't think Murray's going to the Hall of Fame, but it just proves that if you've got decent enough goaltending with a good team defense in front of you as a whole team, that you've got a chance to do some things. And of the last 18 or rather 26 cups since the Cap era, the goaltenders who have won those cups, 18 will not be going to the Hall of Fame. There will be 8 or 9 that'll go to the Hall of Fame, including Vasilevsky, but you don't need great goaltending to win a Stanley Cup. You need really good goaltending, but you need an even better team defensively in front of you to get that done. Now, for the Leafs, it's one step at a time. They got to win a first round, and we'll go from there.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Like 5 years in a row going out in Game 7. That's just it can't happen 6 times, can it?
Yeah, it can, and I'm going to bet on it in April.
It's not 1 versus 8, right? It's not 2 versus 7. It's going to be Toronto right now versus Tampa, and then if you win that series, you get to play the Boston Bruins. It's a tough road to hoe.
Everywhere you look, ghosts of playoff pass. Everywhere you look, it doesn't matter. You got to play them all. Sorry, Locke. Go ahead.
Henny, I think this is an excellent time for this question. Which fan base is the most delusional in the country?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually.
Wow.
Come on, buddy. You can do it.
Toronto's practical. Like, they really are practical. They're excited about this team, and they should be excited about this team. Really.
Toronto's been beaten into it, though, right? The practicalities, but like it's like you and me. Like you had to get excited for the games because you were working for them. My attitude this year, Henny, was like that practical attitude. It's like, wake me up after the first round.
Yeah. Yes. I just enjoy the journey to get to that as well, and before the eventual heartbreak, right? Leaf fans, a good part of them are delusional, without doubt. I mean, we haven't won that since I was 10 years old. I was the altar boy at Dave Keon his dad's funeral, Blessed Sacrament Parish in Noranda, Quebec. I mean,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think the players' wives were still coming in separate entrances back then.
They were. Back then, you're right. And so, I mean, this team is good. I don't know about delusional. They're not delusional in Vancouver anymore. They know they've got to blow things up and start over again, but they had a hell of a run. If I'm in Vancouver and you look at all the work that Brian Burke and various GMs did back in the time, say, you've got a chance to host Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final in your barn, you'd take that. Yeah. And those teams were outstanding. But now they got to get back to that. And that takes a lot of work, a lot of good science and scouting, and a lot of luck. The Oilers, what can we say? I mean, those fans absolutely blessed with the teams they've had. And, in Calgary,
strong dose of delusion, though. I mean, Edmonton has got to be part of the conversation when you're talking about the most delusional fan base, for sure. Yeah.
I wonder. Yeah, well, but they're realistic. They know that blue line's got to get better. They know the goaltending has got to play better, right?
Yeah.
They're
they're not under any illusion in Edmonton. And I think in Calgary, you can kind of say the same thing. And, for the first time ever, and I don't know how you feel about Montreal, I enjoy, and I hate the Canadians. It's just like a passion of mine. If you grew up out west and you love the Oilers, you just hated the Canadians. You also hated the Flames, right? But as a proxy Maple Leaf fan, I've never liked the Montreal Canadiens. But our fan bases are very similar, right? Where the entitlement behind that fan base, even though you haven't won anything for decades, it's like it's hard to have a conversation with, and I'm sure you had it all the time. Like, you ever go to Home Depot or, Home Hardware? You go in, hey, listen, I'm just here to pick up a couple of gallons of paint. And some guy's like, hey, Henny, what if they bring back Domi? Is that the answer, Henny? Is it Domi? Like, how much of that did you get, and do you still get it?
I'll still get it. Home Depot up in Collingwood, where we spent some time, and I love talking hockey. It just shows you about the passion of the fans. And I grew up despising the Montreal Canadiens. Now I totally respect the organization. For me, there was no better building to go visit than Montreal on a Saturday night when the Leafs are playing. And I know if Boston's playing, they say it's even more than that. But total respect for that fan group. I know the Ottawa fan base as well. They just hate Toronto. I think they just grind their teeth.
I think you're right.
I appreciate them paying for our goaltending, though. That's really nice of them. Super nice.
We should talk about the Ryan Reynolds conversation revolving around the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
What do you think about the chances of that happening, Paul?
I think they're good. I know the existing ownership wants to wash its hands of the team and move forward. It's just about finding the right place. Ryan doesn't, he doesn't have that much money, but there are enough people who might want to get involved. And the next move will be moving that building from West End, Ottawa and Canada and downtown to the LeBreton Flats, where it should have been in the first place, centralized and easier access in terms of light rail transit, which is another story in Ottawa and the problems they've had. But at least the infrastructure is now there to make that happen. I hope it happens. It's a great rivalry. They're going to be a really good hockey team, but they're not where Toronto is just yet, where you've got to pay your best players some really high-end money if you hope to keep them. Toronto will be going to the next level of that in the next couple of years with Austin and William, and then beyond that, Mitch. So they're not there yet. They're still in growing steps, but the passion of their fans is good. The passion of the Montreal fans is just beyond. And maybe they might be the most, illusional.
I can accept that answer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Henny.
Okay.
I can accept that. I'm glad he answered it. I thought we were going to dance around it.
No, he's out of the game now. He can speak freely. Yeah, he speaks freely. He's not attached to a paycheck. He's like, but I will say this is when you said Ryan Reynolds doesn't have that much money, I'm like, holy shit, how much money does Henny have when he says, like, Ryan Reynolds doesn't have a bunch of money?
Yeah, I'm not getting on the Ottawa Senators, but he'll have money, but he'll be the face of it, and that's a great face to have. And
yeah.
Have you seen the Welcome to Wrexham documentary?
No.
It's about Rob McElvaney and Ryan Reynolds buying that soccer club, the third oldest sports franchise in Northern Wales.
Right.
And they do like an 18-piece thing on it. It's on Disney Plus. It's like, I hate soccer, and I absolutely adored this documentary.
It's real life Ted Lasso.
If you can put that kind of treatment on an Ottawa Senators story, I think it would be very well received here in Canada.
Worldwide interest. It'd be huge. Okay, so a couple questions that aren't related to anything other than fun. Who's more? Listen, I love Joe Bowen. Known him for years. I love Jim Ralph. You worked with those guys for a long time. You pre-gamed, you post-gamed with them. Quick question. Couple quick questions. Just shot out of left field. Who's better to drink with? Henny? Is it Joe or is it Jim?
Well, Joe is rye and diet, tall glass, lots of ice.
Yeah.
Ralphie's beer and medicinal rouge. And so I think I'll tend to side with Ralphie. 8 years ago this week, we're in North Carolina for a game, and Raleigh to play the Hurricanes. The Leafs had won 6 straight heading into that game. And we were at Morton's Steakhouse in Cary, North Carolina. oh God, Stefan, it'll come to me in a moment. Jonathan Bernier and Steph Robida. Yeah, Robida were a table.
Robida Island. Yeah.
Anyway, we have our dinner. Those guys are long gone. We're getting ready to pay. And the waiter said, no, you don't have to pay. The gentleman who sat over there took care of your bill. Well, anyway, that was fantastic. But the next morning, Ralphie goes up to Bernie and he's got the receipt. And he goes, listen, guys, we had coffee, liqueur, and dessert, and you owe us $68.20. Jonathan, ear to ear grin, and Roby was laughing so hard. I mean, our bill was over $400, right? But that was, you know what? I love to drink with both those guys. I'm more alongside Ralphie with what he drinks. Joe is strictly rye and diet, tall glass, lots of ice. That's how he orders it.
You know, I'll say this is that Joe Bowen was my kid's baseball coach.
Yeah.
And I remember the first game we showed up to, it was in beautiful Pickering, Ontario. This is 15 years ago. So I'm in radio, Bonesy's in radio, television. We had a couple other, Rod Black's son was played with us. He's now got drafted into Major League Baseball. Needless to say, my kid didn't take it that seriously. So just letting you know. But I've never in my life, I showed up to this thing. It's like fresh-faced kids, 5, 6 years old. Bonesy pulls up in his SUV. He pulls out 2 coolers, and he's like, okay, the Kool-Aid punches are in the blue one. The red one is for the adults. Yeah. And you open it up. It had beer, Jägermeister, wine, coolers. It had ice. It had ginger. It had rye. Had it all. And he's like, I'll see you in 2 hours. And that was it. And it literally, it was just like, I was just kind of passing like drinks through the fence to Bonesy when he was there. He was like, hey, this is a lot of fun. We're outside in the sunshine. Let's have a great time, everybody. Yeah. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. And it's one of the things I regret the most is that I didn't get a chance to drink with him and Jim. And because the stories are legend, they allude to it in the broadcasts. And I'm sure you've been there in those broadcasts where you're listening on the earpiece and they're like, we really closed that place down in Chicago. Remember that? Like it's this constant reminder of all the time that they used to go out and just get wasted after games. And I loved it. Still love it.
Yeah, they're funny. The best trips, I know when we got kicked off the Leaf Charter and when Lou Lamoriello came on board, right? I didn't mind because I liked the points and I wasn't getting those before, but boy, oh boy, it takes a piece out of you. But the drives, a game would be in Tampa, right, one night, and we would be back-to-back in Sunrise, Lauderdale the next night, and the drives across state, 4.5 hours more or less. And Joe and Ralphie would have the old TV theme music tunes that he'd patch up to the sound system, and we'd have to guess what it is and what it was and sing the songs and in country music and those guys and the stories. Harry Neal used to be a part of that group as well. What a group and the history. Like there's a book to be written. I just don't know if I have the effort in me to want to put all that together, but it would be very entertaining.
My God, you got to. You have to.
Ghostwriter.
Yeah, you have to. I think that because those are the stories that I love. Like, you know, I was watching this year, obviously one of the sad stories around the Leafs is the passing of Boris Salming, but the celebration of his life prior to his passing, which was just incredible. And what goes on inside, right? You know, we see this polished broadcast and we know you guys are all friends and we know there's so much history. But being able to get on the inside of it is what everybody wants to know. Like the stories you're telling, I'm glued to this. I feel like a kid again, just sitting here listening to you talk about going out with Jimmy and Joe and, you know, Robidon, Bernier, getting kicked. Well, hold it though. You got kicked off the Charter, if I'm not mistaken, because it was like one of those cost-cutting things, and Lou didn't want to distract. No,
Lou Lamoriello just didn't believe in any media, let alone team media. At that point, I'd been on the Charter for 17 years.
And he booted you?
Joe longer than that. I mean, you know, and now they can't get back on. There's so much associated team, you know, strength coaches, masseuses, all that, nutritionists that now fly with the team, whereas before it was a couple of guys and you know, a stick guy. I mean, there was lots of room back there. We'd have Oh, all sorts of players coming back. You know, the late great Wade Belak to sit down and tell jokes, and Eddie Belfour, who loved talking old time hockey, loved hearing about Terry Sawchuk, and Harry and Joe could regale him with a lot of those things. Just you get to see the other side of the players beyond what they now show on those little 15-second clips and what's allowed to be seen. You had their trust, and obviously the trust was warranted. But it was nice to get to know those hockey players as people, as opposed to, and some of the white knuckle guys like Sergei Berezin and Alex Mogilny, who got to sit in the cockpit when you were allowed to do that, because they were platinum knuckle flyers. They were so frightened of going in the air. Wayne Primo, another one of those guys,
Wow.
because of all the traveling, and you got to see that, but we weren't going to tell anything more than. We weren't even going to tell that. Now I can. Here we are all these years later. But no, Lou just didn't want us on board, and that's okay. Lou's a great man. He's a really nice man, and it was just business with him. It wasn't personal.
What do you make of him not being allowed to actually broadcast those away games anymore?
Joe and Jim are at home watching on 2 or 3 monitors, right? And whether it be
That's
the TSN.
Sounds like shit. It sounds like shit. They do it for Raptors games too, Paul. It just sounds terrible. What do you make of it?
I don't like it, especially with an organization like this is the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think the guys should be on the road in those buildings. I know there have been times where I'm saying, well, we'd like to tell you this is what happened, but it happened out of camera shot, and we can't tell you what happened. You've got to be in the building for that. But I think it's the future. You think just to say one game to Boston. Air flights return, probably, you buy them tickets early enough, but say $600 each. So there's $1,200 for Ralphie and Bonesy. Per diem, 2 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's another 350. So I'm just adding it up. Uber from Unionville or Newmarket, where they respectively live, to the airport, unless they're driving, but often they don't. There's another bunch of money. It really adds up. That's just one game. It's into the thousands of dollars. So I don't see it now, just given how tight costs are for these stations, to have somebody there. But my personal feeling is it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. You do have the money in other budgets. Your guys should be there. Joe and Jim should be there. That's just my opinion.
You know what I think is interesting now that you bring it up, because I haven't really thought about it from that perspective, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because I'm a disc jockey, so I spin the records. I'm not really into the sports side of things, but
he's really good at it too, Paul. He's really good.
I'm very good at it. Henny, there's sort of there's been a change, and I think you might have just sort of nailed it. There is a different relationship now between the players and the media in most sports, and it might have something to do with that lack of, the media guys are in the back of the plane with the players. You kind of get this feeling there is a real strong sort of there's been a line kind of drawn in the sand, and there's a step. It's the interaction there. It's a little.
But you know what's even weirder about that, Locke, to your point, and Paul, you might be able to shed some light on this, is that the team owns the media outlets by and large,
mostly
as well. Yeah. So it's like they should kind of be there. Like and listen, if you haven't been part of a Leaf scrum over the past 10, 15 years, obviously when Bell and Rogers decided they were going to buy into this thing, and now it's a triumvirate with Tenenbaum and Bell and Rogers. It's listen, the scrums are not like normal scrums in Toronto. You and I both know that, right? Like there are no hard questions. There are no, and God bless, and I don't like him. God bless Steve Simmons, but there to me, it's like you guys were the media, like you were the front facing media people, and you should have been on the plane. And to your point, the historic brand itself cheaping out because they say, well, that part of our company doesn't have a lot of money to support the idea. That listen, awful. Have you been to real sports? Have you purchased a Leaf jersey yet? Like, I mean, have you bought a beer at a game?
Yeah.
You know, like it just seems to me
Do
that
you have a cell phone you're being overcharged for?
I don't want to put you in jeopardy here, Paul, with this conversation, but you understand what I'm saying, right? Like I completely agree with you. And I think by and large, and listen, the end result as a broadcaster, professional broadcaster, is what comes out of the speakers, right? What comes out of the television.
Exactly.
And what comes out of the speakers for games where you're not there is not good. It doesn't sound good. It's not convincing. It's not authentic. It's not exciting. It's none of those things.
It's different.
No.
It's got a different feel.
Yeah.
It does. And Joe he's such a great broadcaster. He's just beyond fantastic. We did Minto Cup lacrosse for TSN Stream this past summer at Edmonton in the final against a team from Whitby, and it went the distance. And to hear Joe call a game, he just brought the broadcast from here way up to here. He's just a professional. We did the Toronto Rock their first 3 years. I remember in Dallas, we knew we were doing the first game the following Saturday, and this was like a Tuesday. They had a VCR brought to our room, a VHS tape. I think that's what it was called. Plugged it in, and we watched a lacrosse match. And it was like, well, I think we can do this.
Yeah.
And it was the following Friday, and there were like 8,000 fans at Maple Leaf Gardens. Joe's calls just incredible. The next game, the following Friday, there were 16,000 fans drinking more beer in an evening than Leaf fans would ever drink, and enjoying that old barn and a great lacrosse team. But Joe's call just brought it together. And Brendan Shanahan's brother, Brian, doing the color, and I was on the sidelines between the benches, and it was outstanding. But Joe's great. He should be in the building. Ralphie's a tremendous analyst with so many stories. He's a comedic genius.
Yes,
He's just absolutely funny. And they should be there. I think they should be there. And I know the stations who host these games, they're in on a lot of what it's going to cost to get those guys there. But somehow, again, as I've said, I think the money should be spent to have those guys in person, especially if this team gets to the playoffs and maybe wins a round.
Oh, well, wake me up when that happens.
Yeah.
Paul, last question I have, and we'll let you go.
Yeah.
Is Austin Matthews the best Leaf to ever don the uniform?
Oh, that's a hell of a question.
That's why I asked it.
Well, I'm on our board that selects Legends Row. And I know the last group of legends, we had one player on it, and it was Wendell Clark, and deservedly so. But I remember saying in the meeting with all these guys, we've got Red Kelly and we've got Frank Mahovlich, and those guys have to be on Legends Row before we shut this thing down. And our chairman, Mike Fairman, went down the hallway to Shanny's office, brought it up. Shanny said, absolutely. And then we're going to tap the budget. That will be it for now, because there's nobody there. And those guys all got in together. And fortunately, all were alive, and when it happened, to enjoy it, and which is what it should have done. And obviously, Wendell's still alive, but it's not going to happen for another generation. And if these guys can stay with this team long enough, I think Austin Matthews is there. I think Mitch Marner is definitely there. But Austin has the possibility of being the best Maple Leaf ever, and this is from a guy who grew up in Noranda, Quebec, who lived and died with Dave Keon. Different game back then to what it is now, but to see him again in person last night, the skill set is just beyond. And he's a tremendous guy, as are the rest of those guys. But I think Mitch and Austin both have a chance to get on that Legends Row. And who knows? We'll see what the Leafs are able to accomplish in the next couple of years. Maybe even John Tavares gets there as well. But Austin's definitely headed there, and I don't think Mitch is far behind.
Well, listen, dude, appreciate you doing this. Absolute pleasure to have you on. You're the gentleman of the Toronto Maple Leafs organization broadcast team. You are. I will always associate you with that. Your 41-year career in broadcasting is just as legendary as your humility. I want to thank you for spending some time with us today, and hopefully you and I can do this again, and we'll leave Lachlan at home for that one.
Oh, please. Ryan as well, thanks very much. And to both you, Dean and Lachlan, thanks a lot for this. And there's a lot of ways we can go with this. I'll leave it on this. Leafs have got to get a sandpaper defenseman, and they've got to get a good quality forward. I think they're going to do it well before the trade deadline, early March. And if the rest of the guys can stay relatively healthy, they've got a chance to make some history very shortly. in the next couple of years. And I wish every other team in Canada well as well at some point in time, just not this year.
Yeah, me neither. Can you imagine, though, if the Leafs do win the Stanley Cup this year?
Oh.
Can you just imagine that?
I think
you
it's
imagine?
more exciting if they lose in
The
game
first
7
round.
of the first round again. I'm telling you,
Yep.
if they can go 6 straight,
You hear the disdain in Henny's voice when he's like, "Yeah, go ahead, keep it up.
Yeah.
We know I was there.
I'm
I saw it all."
I'm putting $100 bet on it happening. And
Okay, last two questions. Worst Leaf memory that you have? Was it Game 7 in Boston?
Yeah, in 2013, it was bad. There was an interview with Andrew Raycroft at center ice when he was Game's first star, and I interviewed him, and I remember talking to him a day or before, like, what a difference a year makes. You're healthy, and look what you can accomplish when you've got everything going for you, and that was it. And I forget what the question was, but that night, anyway, he just said, "Hey, thanks for bringing that up," and he walked off the ice.
Did you say you're welcome?
My Mark Askin was in my ear going, "What was that all about?" And I just hit my mute button to talk to him. I go, "I have no idea." But you've got a national audience. You've got about 14,000 of the 19,000 fans that were in the building. Still, yeah. Anyway, there was no practice the next day, but I talked to him the day after that, and we hammered it out. I don't even think he knew what he was doing, and I think he mistook me for somebody else. But I did hear that Matt Sundin said to him, "You don't treat him like that. You don't treat anybody like that." But that was a low point. Game 7, May 13th, 2013. Dion, he'd just finished crying. Jake Gardner, it was all he could do from not cry. I remember those moments very well. Those are two different Game 7s, but I remember both very well.
Best moment?
Most memorable.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
he was 10, guys.
Well, that was memorable.
No, when you're working with him.
No, you know what? Being on the ice with Sundin the night he was the game's first, second, and third star, 1,000 points, and just how humble he was. And I know with Matt's, you phrase your questions not about him, but about those around him. So, we brought in the fans. That was a gimme. The building loved it. But his teammates over the 13 years that he was in Toronto, that meant more to him to be able to talk about that. Matt's is just embarrassed about being in the limelight. And I think being in center ice with him, that will stand out for me. And just having the privilege to be able to hold that microphone and being in that moment, given where I grew up, given who I cheered for as a kid, that meant an awful lot to me.
Paul Hendrick, longtime television host for the Toronto Maple Leafs television. Obviously, your career goes into areas that we would need way more time to talk about. But I want to thank you again for being here, and I'll let you go. Enjoy the rest of your day. And by the way, love the red in the dining room. It's very Christmassy. Stay with that motif. It looks great.
Tell your wife she did a great job on the feature
She did a
wall.
great job. Yeah, really good feature wall. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
See you, buddy. Take
We
care.
miss you in Hamilton, by the way.
Yeah, everybody misses him.
Oh, he's so good.
He's just the nicest man.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
And you know what? I like the
sustainable.
honesty.
Being nice is sustainable. That's just more proof. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I do like the honesty too. Not many people are that honest. But you don't need to be angry.
He's got to write
when
that
you're
book.
I'd
Paul,
read
write
it.
that book. Write that book. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Get a
Yeah.
writer.
Oh my God,
like
it'd be
Lynn
so
said,
good.
get a ghostwriter and hammer that out. My God. That'd be
No
huge. That'd be huge. That'd be a national bestseller for months.
For sure.
Probably does make you feel good to know that. Like, did you know any of that stuff about Jack Campbell? That like the year prior to them not re-signing him, they had to work with him just to get him back into town because he was so freaked out. No.
Well,
Makes-
apparently
makes
that has
a
actually
little-
come up in town here. That that the stress of his lack of performance, being paid what he is, being paid is really, really wearing on the
He
kid.
feels
And I'm
bad.
like,
He
Yeah,
feels
he-
bad that he's getting paid all that money and he's not
Yeah.
living up like that. Like fucking nobody else feels bad. Like this, what every
Like I
normal
said-
professional athlete gets to a point where they get paid and they're like, "Fuck it, now I can do whatever I want." This is a guarantee.
put me in a room with him.
He is
I
the
need
nicest
10 minutes.
man in
He'll
the
be
world.
fine.
Speaking of nice people, you know who joins us today to talk about his podcast?
I thought Jimmy was coming.
He is.
Jimmy's
Oh.
a good guy.
Jimmy's
He's a good guy, Linz. Did you see that? Right out of the gates, Linz is shit talking you.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was going to be you.
I just
Oh, we
I
got you
jumped
on
the gun.
mute. This is going to be a great show.
Sorry for not bringing you in with Henny, but I thought you wouldn't have anything to add or ask, so I decided not to.
I don't know what sports is.
Why
so-
are you on mute?
He's
We
not
can
on
hear
mute.
him.
I can hear him.
All right.
No, we can hear him. Yeah, we can hear you. You sound fine. Locke, you're just fucking him up now. You're doing this on purpose.
No, I'm not. I'm
Yeah, you
trying.
are.
I'm trying to make his stay here. We've had a couple of rough days. It's the two of us aren't really seeing eye to eye right now.
guys
There's
fighting?
a little bit of tension. Yeah.
Are you
yeah.
guys fighting? Is that what's
Really?
going on?
No, I
What's
just work
happening?
with a dick.
Well, tell me, Jimmy, what's going on? Like, we'll leave Locke on the cooler right now. What's going on with you guys? How can we help you with your relationship? What's bubbling up now? What's happening? Talk to me.
Oh, not too much. Just I'm driving to work on the bus at -50, and he's bitching about how cold it is. Him walking from the house to the car.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Makes
the
sense.
problem when?
Well,
yeah,
and
when
there
the
is
heated
also-
garage isn't working.
Yeah.
There's-
Is your garage
there's
not heated,
also-
Locke?
No, it's heated. But I have to walk from the house to the garage,
Right.
and it's really cold right now.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I've been bringing that up every morning about how cold that is. I forgot my mitts in the car the other day, so I had to walk from the
Didn't
house
you,
to the garage without mitts on, the heated
Right.
garage.
Didn't
Yeah.
you?
Oh, that
didn't you
is
also out
Locke.
him?
You know, hold it, Locke. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, me too.
Jimmy's spending an hour every morning outside. It's
Minus
minus
50.
45 with the wind chill. And I'm complaining about my gloves being in the car for a 15-second walk. He was losing his shit. And then we also had a little bit of tension on the show today because he mentioned to me, and I thought by him mentioning it to me in the car yesterday, we were out delivering our holiday candles. He mentioned to me that he has a date with this girl. And so I brought it up on the air, and he looked at me like I took my penis out and slapped him in the face with it. And I'm like, what? I thought you brought it up in the car. But he goes, I also said this is not for the show, which is something I didn't.
That's
I
a
got
lie.
Lost.
You're lying. You knew.
Such a
dude,
liar.
You do that to me twice a
All
month.
The time.
Twice a month. Yeah, you do it to Ryan twice a month. If you're gonna fucking be here, be
no,
here and tell the
listen.
truth. You heard what he
No.
said.
Yep.
Jimmy told you he had
I-
a hot date with someone tonight, and he told you it wasn't for the air. Now, if you're in radio, you know what that means. Not for air means don't tell anybody. Not for air. It's a colloquialism. It's fucking.
I was
Jimmy
so
calls that out. He's like,
excited
not
for the
for air.
guy.
And you're like, yeah, okay. And then, but in your mind, you're like, this is the first thing I'm bringing up when I get on the radio tomorrow with Jimmy. You know that.
Wasn't the first thing, but
You got
Jimmy-
to make
Jimmy
fun
laid
of
it-
the
Jim-
fact that he had to walk in minus 45. Then I brought it
Yeah.
up.
Jimmy
Okay,
laid
Jimmy.
the law down today too, and said that no more talking about Jimmy's relationships on the air. You really
for
messed
you.
that one up, Lachlan.
Good for you.
Good
Good for
for
you,
you.
Jimmy. Jimmy, you got a date
That's
tonight.
going to last a week.
No, he's got a date in the new year.
You got to. You plan those dates that far in advance. You got a date in the new year.
I met her briefly on Facebook. I haven't even
Oh.
met this person,
Okay. Okay.
and it was
They're going for coffee. And
No, let him
everyone is
tell
so
us.
excited.
I want it from him.
I'm so excited.
I am too. So so how did you meet this girl? What's she all about?
actually it was kind of Grant's thing
Yeah.
because she texted in. We pissed her off about something on text.
Yeah.
She was
Then we-
complaining about the show.
Then we
We
apologized.
set her up on a date with Jimmy.
What a way to make it up.
Let him tell the story.
Then,
Let him tell
then
the
we
story.
apologized,
Uh-huh.
and she said, "I'm single." And Grant goes, "So is Jimmy." And then she's like, And then he's texting back and forth with her,
Yeah.
saying,
As
"You need-"
Jimmy.
And then
Keep going, Jimmy. Don't stop talking. Keep
and
explaining.
then she's like, "Yeah, we need to talk." So I'm like, why don't you
Oh.
shoot me a message on Facebook?
yeah.
And then we started talking on Facebook.
There's also another bonus. Can I bring up?
No,
Let him, dude. I'm doing a great job getting all the information out of him that he doesn't want to give you on your
Come
show on
on,
this show.
come
So just let me
No,
keep
he was-
sucking it out. What is he? What does he want to bring up, Jimmy? You tell us. You.
I'm not. No.
Why not?
Okay, I'll say it without saying it.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, it has to do with my fetish.
Oh, I know what your fetish is. Yeah. Is she okay? So just a related story. Is she pregnant?
No.
Oh, okay.
You're such a dick, too, D.
She is. She's pregnant. That's hot for you, dude. That is number 1 in your fucking book of kink. Good for you.
Wow.
Have you ever been with a pregnant girl before?
No.
He doesn't get around women very much.
Why not?
And then I meet them and I talk about them on air, and then I have 2 assholes that I work with that really make it awkward.
Okay, but hold on. Hold on.
Oh,
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do
I'm all
that.
kinds of awkward.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
We're not going to do that with this one. We're not.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
They're not gonna shit talk you. They want you to have a good time. So this girl you met on Facebook, you're going on a date with her in the new year. She may or may not be with child. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And she's single, right?
Yes.
And she
And
reached
she's got a
out to
brood,
you.
too. She's got like 4 of them at home already, so it'd be Daddy Jimmy.
Insta family,
awesome.
dude. Little work is possible. You got an Insta family. Let's think on the bright side here. So she's pregnant. That's your kink. You guys are going out in the new year. Where are you going? Is it coffee? See, I told you I'd get it out of him, Locke. He just doesn't want to talk about it with you because he knows you're going to like, are you doing her Lamaze class with her? That might be a nice first date.
They don't let guys in with
Do you know how horny you'd be after going to her Lamaze class?
Oh, wow.
Oh, just a little person. Don't wear sweatpants, dude. Don't wear sweatpants. You'll never be
Wear
able to
those
walk
jeans we bought you. The ones that don't fit anymore. They might contain it.
I thought I was here to talk about my podcast.
Star Wars? Yeah, we'll get there.
Got 4 kids already.
We
and
couldn't
another
get
one
Paul
on the way.
Henny. We couldn't get.
She doesn't have 4.
How many does she
I
have?
thought she said 3. She's got 3.
3 kids?
No.
She's got 3 kids? She's got 2?
1 and 1 on the way.
Okay. 1 and 1 on the way. And
Grant said 4.
Okay, just to be a dick. I get it. I get it. Whoa, that's hot.
Wow.
That's a lot of fun. Good for you. When was the last time you were with a woman?
Yeah.
Chicago about 5 years ago.
I have it in the calendar.
Okay.
It's in the family calendar.
Before we get the
Family calendar.
It does pop up on our Google calendar.
All right. I've got a little treat for you, Jimmy. I'm glad that Lachlan has taken our Jedi Jimmy conversation. By the way, he's got a podcast called the Jedi Jimmy Podcast. He does a whole bunch of different stuff with nunchucks, lightsabers, all that other stuff. And we're going to get to that in just a second. But before we get to that, a friend of mine owns one of the most high-end, cleanest, legal rub and tugs in Canada.
Oh, wow.
In fact, a couple of them. And I've met this young lady about 20 years ago at the Edge. She came in and we're like, you're awesome. You're so much fun. And she joins us today from Muse Massage Parlor, Muse Massage Spa, Muse Spa, if you will, here in Toronto and Vaughan. Please welcome Emily, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Em. How are you?
I'm good. Long time no see, Diener. How are you?
The best. Always good. Great to see you as well. How's business?
good.
I'd say how's tricks, but probably not the best question to ask you. But how is business? How is, because you've defied logic. You started Muse Massage Parlor, I think just before I left the Edge, got fired.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's an enterprise. You've got a couple locations. So why don't we get into that first, and then we'll get into what we can do for Jimmy. Emily?
Awesome. We actually opened in 2009. So you were still rocking the mornings. You and I met because we sent you some cookies. And Muse has just blossomed since then. We have 2 locations now, one in Toronto and North York, and one up in Vaughan near the highways. And business is booming. We opened in a recession. We survived a pandemic. I mean, stuff's just wild.
It's a recession-proof industry.
Yes, it is.
It seems to be.
And listen, it is the world's oldest profession. And if you want to go to Muse, you can. Muse Massage Spa. They've got their own website. The name of the website, and where can people find you, Emily?
MuseMassageSpa.com. Or follow us on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. You'll find us on all of the platforms.
All right. So business is good. Tell us what you guys do there, and then we're going to introduce you to my friend James P. White to see if we can't get, because I think we might be bringing him out to Toronto. So let's get to it.
Amazing. So as you said earlier, we're legal and licensed to do everything I'm about to talk about, which is super cool. Just like a strip club is licensed. So same idea. And so our ladies offer erotic massage. So it is naked, it is relaxing, it is wild, it can be kinky, it can be intimate, sensual, fun, all kinds of different things. You can do sessions with one girl, you can do sessions with two girls, you can do a relay race with 3 girls in a row. There are so many great options.
That sounds like a lot of
Wait a
work.
second. Explain the relay race with 3 girls.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah. My cardio's bad.
Yeah.
This is actually a really cool story because the idea actually stemmed from a business idea from my father, which worlds colliding, right? But
yeah, family
not
business.
related.
Honey, what do you do for a living?
Wait a second.
Well, I operate a rub and tug. I got an idea for you, sweetheart.
He was in New York City and he was seeing all these things, doing everything from tasting menus to like actual day spas, doing mini manicures and mini facials and stuff like that. And he was like, you need to do this. I was like, no, it doesn't work the same way with naked humans. You can't just sample. But it planted a seed in my head. And before you knew it, we came up with a session called the Muse Mixer. So it's a 1-hour session, 20 minutes each per girl. So you kind of get a mini session with one girl. Then the second girl comes in, joins in for a duo for about 5 minutes. First girl hops in the shower quick and then leaves. Second girl's there for another 20 minutes, just the two of you. Third girl comes in and joins for a duo for about 5 minutes or so. Second girl hops in the shower and gets out of there. And then your last 20 minutes is with the last third girl.
The scheduling alone just gave me anxiety.
No,
Because that's what I do for a
because
living.
it stays there. That's the whole thing. This is what you don't understand.
What man could
this man.
do an hour?
This man could do an hour. What she's saying is like that stuff
I'm
just
usually
stays
asleep after
there.
the first 3 minutes.
After the first one, and you got 3 more coming. After the second one, I'd be like this. You know what? Let's just call it a day. I need to have a nap. Yeah.
Is
But
there
no,
a nap
Yes.
time?
It's
like injury
nap-worthy.
time for soccer?
Yeah.
Is
Like
it?
if you take a nap, do you get to add the 5 minutes at the end of the session?
Yeah.
No, but you'd get a cuddle buddy. They'd nap with you.
Yeah?
It would be fine. Yeah, they'd curl up and snuggle you.
Do you
Absolutely.
have packages? So you've got the mixer package, but what are the other packages that you have? Like, just go through a list of things, and then we'll get to what Jimmy can because Jimmy has a very specific kink, and I want to know if you can satisfy it. But let's just get to some of the other packages, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. So we also see couples. Couple sessions are super wild and really interesting because they come from all different dynamics. Some are already swingers. Some have never tried anything before and they're completely new. Sometimes it's for the guy's birthday, or my wife is bi-curious, or. So we come up with little unique scenarios for each couple. They're usually celebrating something, an anniversary, Valentine's, a birthday, something like that. We do duo sessions with 2 girls for either a half hour or an hour, whatever you like. We do fetish sessions. We do a session called the Candy Coated that involves whipped cream and chocolate sauce and strawberry lollipops and all kinds of fun things like that. There's solo sessions that can go anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours long. If you really like the girl, book for longer.
Wow.
We do shower sessions that are called the Aqua, that are all in the shower and soapy and bubbles and super intimate with the two of you in the shower. We do an Aqua version of the mixer called the H2O, which is a 3-part series that's wet as well. And it's
So
orgasmic.
it's the same as the Aqua
Yeah,
H2O one
let's
is
hear
the
this.
same as the
we
tag
allowed to talk
team.
about
Like one
this?
girl comes in, another girl goes out. Tag. It's the same, but it's all in the shower, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. It's a wet relay race.
Sounds delicious.
Wow.
Are there rules? Like, so
Yes.
I'll give you
course
I'll give you
there's
my
rules, dude.
understanding. Like it just seems like we're throwing all the rules out the door.
No,
I'm
these are
talking
just
about regulation.
regulation. These are just packages that you can choose from. This is like a handrail guide.
No.
Like,
I am
you can
talking
download.
about
Lachlan.
who, like, okay, in Edmonton, for instance, they have rub and tugs, and they have all sorts of different names, and everybody on the planet knows that it's a rub and tug. And you go in the back door, and the windows are blacked, and you go in there, and you pay your money, and whatever happens. No one talks about it. I don't bring somebody on my radio show to talk about what's happening at the Asian Connection in the strip mall across from the radio station. Nobody talks about it. And the reason why everybody turns a blind eye is because they know it's going to happen anyway, right? So this is a safe way and an alternative to, street, right? These women would probably end up doing this anyway, and I'm all for it. Yeah. So they kind of created this umbrella kind of industry in Edmonton. I don't know how it works in Calgary. I think it's similar. And I don't know if it's provincially regulated or not. And I'm actually, because then they have somebody looking after them. They're not, you know what I mean? Like it just seems way more humane to me. Are the rules different? Like, because I know that they know it's happening
in Ontario.
Yeah, are the rules different in Ontario than they are in the rest of Canada?
It actually goes by city. So each city government regulates everything from liquor licenses, strip clubs, massage parlors that in Toronto are actually called a body rub parlor. Edmonton actually has legal brothels as well, whereas we don't have those over here. So we get licensed by the city of Toronto or the city of Vaughan, and that's kind of how we operate legally. You couldn't run an underground strip club. You have to have an adult entertainment license. So it works almost exactly the same way. But the reason why Riley, my business partner, and I decided to open Muse is because why does it always have to be this sneaky thing where you go in the back door? If it's already licensed and legal to be a business, why can't it be high end? Why can't it be something where you would bring your wife for a fun adventure to re-spark things, or where you could bring, your buddies after the hockey game? Or we have corporate accounts where business people come in all the time and bring their associates. So why does it have to be ick instead of beautiful and clean?
No, I'm all for it. I didn't know the sort of the negotiating the legalities of it. So
in Toronto, it's 100% cool. Yeah.
And
brave too, because I remember when you started at M, I was like, you guys are gonna get fucking shut down. And you're like, no, we figured it out. We figured the whole thing out.
Good for you.
Fine.
It's not for lack of our competitors trying, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
We have like here in Hamilton, we have anytime a strip club closes down in the city now, they won't renew the licenses. So now they're actually trying to get rid of everything in this city because of
in Toronto too. Their grandfather.
Well,
they're trying to do that in Toronto too. So you got to stay in business forever, Em. It's just a public service at this point.
Forever and ever. Well, if you remember in Toronto, for example, when Jilly's closed down, that license is gone and done. There used to be 16 adult entertainment licenses. I think they're down to 12 or 13 now. And the same would be for ours if, for example, we decided not to renew our license, which would be crazy. There's a limited amount. There's only 25 licenses in Toronto. There's only 3 available in Vaughan. And once you own them, they're worth a whole lot. That's for sure if you want to resell. But in order to stay open forever and ever, you either renew your license or you sell.
Yeah. You know what, though? I think it is. And Dean, honestly, I think it's worth mentioning, and it's a word. I mean, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but people are going to seek this out, right?
They should, and they should go to M. I've known her for 20 years.
Normalize.
She's as professional, clean, protective, discreet, honest, kind, loving, hopeful. These are good people, and not only they're good people,
way too much judgment
in the world. Good time. So let me get to that question for you, M.
Sure.
Let's get to James P. White real quick. Now, he's
James sitting here dying right now. By the way,
no. There's a little birdie told me you might be coming out here with Army Chris. So anyway, I want to set this up. Now,
what? No, that is an awful idea.
Not this time. I'm planning in summer.
Okay, no. Summer. Okay. Then there's a little thing that says you might be. Can you not end the trip before it begins, Lachlan?
It's already ended.
Get him out here for a rubby.
Army
really
Chris is going to kill him. Like
Well,
he's
maybe.
going to kill him.
Well,
And-
maybe
and
at the
less
end of it,
time
but
he
at least
spends
he
with
could go to
him-
Muse just for like 5 minutes, maybe an hour. I'll pay for it. James, tell Emily what your kink is, and then ask her questions as to whether or not she can satisfy that. Go ahead.
Tell me everything.
Thanks for this, Dean.
You're welcome.
It's already awkward.
Yeah.
I don't like talking about it.
I don't care.
I know.
I've heard it all.
About it. She's already heard it. Just go ahead and voice it. Just all you got to do is be honest. Be vulnerable. Don't be duplicitous. Don't be a duplicitous little shit. Just tell her how you feel. Okay.
Lachlan, stop talking.
I'm not saying a word.
No, I was talking to the other Lachlan. I'm kind of turned on by pregnant women.
Oh, interesting. Are there any more details to that? Is it pregnant? Is it lactating? Is it a bit of a mommy son fetish?
No.
Okay.
It's just
glowing and with child.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you have any pregnant people that
I don't at the moment, but we have over the years, and I could absolutely find you one.
James, you're welcome.
See that?
My little black book is vast.
Making your dreams come true.
You're welcome. You don't have to sit here and go, oh, poor me. James, live your fucking prideful kink.
I'm not doing the poor me.
We've kind of destroyed his
talking about it.
Don't be embarrassed.
Far more common than you'd actually think.
Do you get guys that come in and go, hey, do you have any girls that are with child? Do you have any of those? Yeah, you do. It's normal.
Yeah.
But this conversation is going to be live on air tomorrow morning, whether I like it or not.
Well, then embrace it. That's all you can do.
That's well put,
Matt.
I've been in sex work for 20-something years. I'm open to talk about it all the time. You can create more stigma and drag it on, or you can break that mold and just come face forward. And Dean, you were a big part of helping me do that.
Well said. Well said.
Can you tell me how that happened? Because I don't remember that.
For you, Emily. Thank God for you, Emily.
Well, there's so much privacy in the industry. Most people have a stage name. Emily is my stage name. But how often do you see the owner of a rub and tug with their face on the internet or their voice on the radio or, standing at a trade show and all these different things? And Riley and I have always just been bold. After our competitors outed our personal identities on the internet, which caused sheer panic when it first happened. But after a little while, we were like, okay, bitches, I see you.
Yeah, just embrace
and
it.
I'm going to raise you 20.
Yeah.
And so we just rolled with it. And so we're already out there. We might as well just go for it. And so now media is our favorite thing to do. It's so much fun.
And James, you're in the media. Do you know how many people you would have come along for your kink ride if you just talked the truth with Lachlan on his show? Lachlan's just trying to make you a better announcer and a better person. That's it. And so when we bring you on the show and we talk about your kink and we set you up with a pregnant girl so that you can enjoy yourself and have all your dreams come true, you're welcome. This is personal development. That's why we're here, James.
It truly is, though.
We do it for you. There's no selfish reasons at all.
Not at all. There's nothing selfish
to do with
about
content.
any of you.
Not at all. This is a Christmas miracle.
It is. It's an intervention. It's a sexual intervention. We're helping you, dude. I love you.
We hinted on our show, we hinted about my fetish for what, a year and a half? Till
It was longer than that. It was longer than that. And then I had a 40-second conversation with Dean. And Dean goes, oh, he's into pregnant chicks. And I went, what the?
He hung up on me. He's like, I can't believe you nailed it. Yep. Dude, I get it. I know, dude.
Because no one guessed it. We had everything from dressing him up as a baby and feeding him applesauce to Star Wars.
Furries.
Name it.
Listen, those are all legit fetish communities. They exist everywhere.
Yes. There's an
adult
applesauce
babies
fetish
were on
community.
CSI. Furries were on CSI. It's so much more common than you think. Everybody has a fetish of some kind.
Yeah,
are you prepared for the brony crowd when they come down?
No shame.
Has Taylor Hall ever showed up? to Muse.
Asking if you have any VHS copies of My Little Pony.
Don't dare me.
Don't dare me. So, okay, Em, where can people get a hold of you? And really appreciate you being here, James. That's Emily. We're going to hook you guys up off the air. We're going to make this happen because I really believe that we need to make your life what it should be, James. Just this, like, throw caution to the wind, sexual exploration. Muse Massage. How can people get a hold of you, and how can people use your services? MuseMassageSpa.com. You'll find all the basic information on the website. If you email through, it comes direct to me. I will help you right away. There you go. That's good. Do you guys do house calls? No. Okay. In call only. Okay.
I think that's illegal, Dean.
Yeah, I think then it veers into like the territory of hookers and stuff like that. So yeah, we don't do that. Yeah. Sorry. I'm no John.
Pages.
Thanks for doing this, Em. Good to talk to you.
My
Go ahead.
pleasure.
No, go ahead. Right.
Linz, we can't keep her here all day, buddy.
I haven't had a chance to ask a question. You shut up. What's the number one workplace injury in your place of business? Is it carpal tunnel? It's got to be carpal tunnel, right?
No, a bum shoulder.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Stamina will kill you.
Could you imagine having to fill out those comp forms? Like if you're a workers' comp claim?
Have you had to do that yet? Have you had to do the old
Not a
rotator
workers'
cuff
comp,
masturbation
no.
injury? No.
No workers' comp. We've had a few actual injuries though. Bloopers happen everywhere. Whether you're
Slipping
on
in the
like
shower, I can
the
imagine.
ice.
A lot of eye issues, I'd imagine. A lot of eye problems.
Eye things happen sometimes, definitely. Slip
Do you guys
and
give out
fall
safety
happens.
goggles, or do you
No,
offer
but-
PPE to the employee?
What was the
There
name
was
of that?
a time that bylaw almost tried to make us all massage parlors put in an eye wash station, and we thought that was just the funniest thing.
Too far. Well, there was a reason why that one porn actress, I think she's Persian or Iranian or whatever. We talked about it the other day.
Mia Khalifa.
Yeah, she had glasses, and she would wear the glasses in her porn, and then she sold them on some site for charity and raised a bunch of money for some cause she's really into. And I remember Grant asking me, he's like, what would you do with some porn star's glasses? And I said, wash them
immediately.
I could guess what people would do with them.
Yeah, right.
Oh man.
Yeah.
No, it's there's a lot to be concerned. Listen, there's shrapnel in those places. Like we
Correct.
Right?
There's still workplace hazards everywhere.
Yeah, there is. Doesn't matter what it is. But fewer at Muse. Go and see Emily. Muse Massage Spa. Make sure that you Google her. Very discreet, sensual massage in Toronto and Vaughan. MuseMassageSpa.com. Em, thanks for doing this. We'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure.
Emily, you're a light. You were a
Isn't
light,
she
my
great?
friend. Thank you for
Yeah,
this.
thanks. Come back, please.
Anytime, guys. Have a great
Talk to
one.
you soon. Okay,
Thanks,
you
Em.
too. There you go, Emily from Muse. Jimmy, it's just that easy. Okay, it's just that easy to get what you want.
You know what
Just wanna-
Jimmy
just gotta-
is? He's a
gotta
very
talk.
shy guy,
I
right?
know.
So he doesn't like talking about this. It's ironic because he's also he's got more humility than any man I've ever met in my life.
I know.
And he also lives this extraordinarily bizarre life and doesn't mind sharing it on the radio. I've never worked with anybody outside of myself.
Why
who
does he hide the
shares
other stuff then?
Well, I don't know, because there's still like he was religious, and he had, when I met him, he had a what would Jesus do tattoo on him. Like, I mean, he's had a shift. That's not even a joke, right?
You know what
He had
Jesus
a
would do?
The Yoda tattoo.
He'd probably bang a pregnant chick if he could, if he had
Yeah,
liked them, and
absolutely.
he'd probably talk about it in the
Mhm.
scriptures.
Would it make you feel better if we found out that Jesus had a pregnant
Pregnancy
lady
kink?
fetish?
Yeah,
He didn't, but
he
yeah.
did. How do you know? It's 2,000 years ago. You don't know. You weren't there.
That's right.
You never talked to him. You weren't one of the disciples. You weren't sitting there next to him going, "Hey, this is great. We'll give away all this fish and this bread, but are you into pregnant chicks?" And you didn't hear Jesus go, "Yeseth."
You know what happened when he turned that water into wine and got the girls to drink it? Knocked them all up.
All of
Yeah.
them. All of them.
Yeah,
he just
got a
ran a
little
train.
Randy.
Yeah, Jesus ran a train, dude. Anyway, back to
you know what
back
the
to-
problem. You know what the
What's up?
problem is for Jimmy, I think, and I don't blame him. He's probably just because I would be if I was him. I'd be nervous to go there because he's a fetish for some people. He's probably thinking he'll get recruited. And,
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Point. That's
That's-
you know what?
Excellent.
That's a
point.
huge thing.
Yeah.
We keep bringing this up with Jimmy. He's got to let his freak fly and take advantage of this. That's why that's what we were telling him. He should switch teams.
Do you have women come up to you and go, I got a fetish. I want to.
If you could wrap your head around switching teams, buddy, you would be.
No, not switching teams. No, listen, let me ask you a question.
You would be wildly successful in that world.
Have you thought of opening yourself up to being a bucket list item to women?
Mm-hmm.
It's
not a bad
been
idea.
A conversation with women.
Open it up.
What
dude.
are you doing?
Mutual need, mutual satisfaction.
Yes, sir. You're helping each other.
You're doing a public service.
You know what? Fuck it. This is therapy for you now, Jimmy. Everybody go and download his podcast called the Jedi Jimmy Podcast. It's really good. James P. White, science fiction, 2021, 2022. Jedi Jimmy analyzes and breaks down everything in the Star Wars universe. This is the nerd you're looking for. Yeah.
Holy shit, little buddy.
People love it. People love it. Good, great. Your podcast is awesome. Let's get to the therapy session here.
I had no idea this was going to happen. So you can be mad
incredible?
at me if you want, Jimmy.
Oh no, I know this is 100% lock number 2.
No, it is, dude. It's not. I'm trying to help you. Would you like my help?
Yes, I think.
Would you like to have sex with a pregnant woman? Yes or no? Just a yes or no answer.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then listen to me.
The first time we won't have cameras in the room for rebroadcast.
We're not doing
at a local theater.
No,
the first time.
We're not doing any of that. Okay. You're a bucket list. Being a little person, you're a bucket list item for a lot of women out there that are like, I've always had a thing for the little people. And it's like, you're a good looking little person. You know what you're doing. You got great moves. You're also a stripper in your spare time. There are a lot of people out there that are like, that Jimmy, that is it. That's what I want tonight. 2 hours. And I want him to crawl around me like a tick. That's what I want. I want him all over me. I want to feel it all, and I want it to be sensual and loving. But you're a bucket list item, so there's that part. Then you got the fetish. You got the kink fetish for pregnant chicks, right? So then there's that part. You have not sought out any of that stuff yet. And if these are the things you like, why the fuck are you not doing these things? Why not? Why are you not putting yourself out there to be a bucket list item, a sexual bucket list item for women who want to have sex with you? Why are you not going to places like Muse going, you know what? Bring in Mandy. She's 6 months. That'll be a lot of fun. It's mutual excitement. It's mutual exclusivity. There is no reason why you shouldn't be living your best life at, what are you, 47, 48?
48.
Almost.
I love you. We're helping you. This is 2023 is going to be the year of Jimmy. That's what this is going to be. And you're going to live unabashed, unabashed, unafraid, unashamed to be exactly who you are, because that's the key to life, my friend. That's the key to life. You ready to do this? The year of Jedi Jimmy, 2023?
I don't disagree with Dean on this at all.
I know you don't.
You ready to come with me on the ride of your life?
I'm in. I will be there to help do whatever we need to do.
James, you ready?
Sure.
Yeah,
that's what I want to hear.
That's a guy. We gotta
get. Hold on though. I think we need to. We're starting at the wrong point here with Jimmy. Right.
We just needed consent.
We got him answering ads now for little person fetishes. I think we need to start at a basic point with Jimmy. And you know I love you, and you're like a son to me, but. Jimmy, his development as a human being stopped at the age of 13. Jimmy lives like a 13-year-old was given an apartment. So there's some grooming issues. There's some things I think we'll work on.
We'll work on the little things. Yeah. We'll work on the minutia. But let me just bring up Clay's comment in the comment section here on our YouTube channel, Dean Blundell Show. This is real, Jimmy. We're uncovering something here. By the way, Jimmy is $2.40 an hour. Maybe you can get a coupon code through Dean. Brilliant idea. We give out a coupon code where it's $2.40 an hour to have sex with you. But if you type in the promo code,
toss my salad. You save 50%.
That's my little person salad. If you do that, you're like, it's $150 for you. Dude, you made $150, you had sex.
Yeah.
Are you a sex worker at that point? Kinda, but does it really matter, Jimmy? At 48, when you're chasing happiness and you're chasing these things that have eluded you for a long time, like sex with a woman who's in the 6th month of her gestational period. Like, seriously.
I got a quick story. So we had a.
Can he answer the question first?
Yeah.
Does it matter, Jimmy? Or are you ready to go on this ride? Just yes or no. Are you ready to go on this ride with us?
I don't know.
The answer is
yes.
yes.
Think about it. This is a lot to take in. Let him digest this tonight with his 14 beer. Okay, so here's a quick story that's going to sum up Jimmy. And I think a lot of people will get a better sense of who he is after this story. There's not a week that goes by where Jimmy doesn't come into the control room and drop something on our laps that you couldn't write it. You couldn't prepare it. There's no way in hell. What we do with our show is we just live our lives, and then Jimmy tells us stories, and then it becomes literally a bit for 5 years. Like, I swear to God, it's countless, and it's once a week, right?
Like the cilantro story? Yeah.
Like the cilantro story. Like, I told it a couple months back. I was walking behind him, and I realized he had a limp, and he's like, it's a liquor store injury. And I'm like, okay, hang on, save it for the air.
Wait a
like,
minute.
It's just constant with Jimmy.
Stop. What?
It's a liquor store injury.
Please,
He
just
was
the
in
cold
the
notes.
liquor store with a
Mandalorian
on his shoulder, and he slipped and fell.
No, I tripped on the carpet.
Well, it's so high when you're that small, right? The carpet's huge. Mandalorian wants you to go the distance. You hear that? She's like, go the distance. Everybody's trying to treat this like Jimmy's field of sexual dreams.
Yeah.
If you build it, he will come.
So
Go the
I love all the
distance.
promo code suggestions. Tripod.
Jameis, here's a promo code for your sex acts. Promo code tripod. I like that one. The other one that I liked was Yoda. And this one is really cool too. Leia. I mean, why not?
He's got a
right?
thing for Leia too.
So
anyway, Jimmy went to used to I can't remember where you met this woman. I think it was at a sex show. Was it at a sex show or was it at the bar? The woman that owned the Manhattan, and she wanted to get you to film a porno.
No, that wasn't the girl from the Manhattan. It was a girl that actually ran a porno company, and it was at the sex show. The Manhattan was something different.
So Jimmy's walking through the sex show because he gets our station sends him. Yeah. Like he gets paid to go down to the sex show and just hang out, right? On a Saturday or whatever. The sex show
comes. This was when I was working at the strip club. I was promoting the strip club then.
Yeah, so anyway, you're a male stripper as well. That's a lot of people don't know. Is my friend Jimmy here likes to get down. He's a licensed ripper. That's what he is.
It's actually the ID. It's the only ID he has because he doesn't have a driver's license.
Is your stripper ID licensed stripper license your actual ID? Is that true?
No, it's the one I was going to lend him when he wanted to borrow my movie passes because you need picture ID.
So anyway, he comes into work and he goes, I don't know how we deal with this on the air, but I got asked to be in a porno. And I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, we spent a week on it.
For sure.
And the thing about Jimmy is like, okay, for instance, anybody that I know, like that gets asked to be in like any guy that I know. I mean, if we're being brutally honest with ourselves, that would be a very difficult thing to wrap your head around. I mean,
I'm just not taking. I'll do it, but I'm not taking my shirt off in the porn.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't matter.
Socks too. Socks down.
Yeah, I meant shoes.
Performance. Yeah. There
probably
is
just
so
not even
many
taking the pants just down to the knees.
I'm just opening the fly.
Yeah.
But also, if listen, most people, if they were in a porn, would worry about the judgment outside. And the thing that Grant and I were trying to convince Jimmy to the reason why we want him to do it is, for some reason, I don't know another man on the planet. I mean, take your family out of it, that would be able to get away with Jimmy doing a porn. Like Jimmy, if he did it, no one would judge him. None of his workmates. It would not have any impact on his employment.
We have to make it. We have to make Jimmy's porn.
You're a big.
You know what?
Go ahead, Jimmy. What were you saying?
His big thing wasn't actually me doing. He wanted to do a live viewing party at a movie theater.
Yeah.
He's fucked in the head.
We got to pay for it somehow.
Lachlan likes to invent things and then add like levels of shame to them for the person that he's invented them for. It's just who he is. No, listen. We need to do a porn. Like listen, it's the year of Jimmy, 2023. Yeah. But if your work is paying you to show up at sex shows and they know that you're a male stripper and they're fucking way okay with it as a radio announcer, my God, the only thing to do is to say, you know what, caution, I'm going to put you in a little ball. I'm going to throw you right into the wind. You know why? Because it's the year of Jimmy. We're going to get you laid. We are going to open up the sexual universe of James P. White. Because you know why, James? I'll tell you why. We love you. We love you. We want you to experience life unafraid. We don't want you to be ashamed. We don't want you to think of your kink as loving pregnant chicks as a dark secret you can't share.
No.
We want you to celebrate it. We want to put it on flags like those assholes did when they drove from Edmonton all the way to Ottawa
and
with those things on hockey sticks. It's
just like a billboard.
Yeah, Jimmy loves pregnant chicks. It's all
not a big deal.
And a
listen to the locker room weekday mornings, 6 to 10.
You're in, aren't you? You're in. We're making a porn.
Gotta be.
We're going to put an ad out, I don't know, wherever you put ads now, where they're like,
what
hey,
would
I'm
Janice,
looking for a
what
little
would Mom
person.
say if she found out you were in a porn?
You know what? I'll tell you something. Janice isn't going to be here forever. You're going to have to get a head start on the rest of your life right now, okay?
Yep.
Janice would lose her mind.
And then we're going to have a talk with Janice. We're going to have a chat with her. I'm going to say, listen,
no,
I'm good at it. I'm good at it. I'm good at it. I'm going to say, this is your son. And he's happy being James P.P. White.
You do not understand. You do not understand. Tabor takes years off of people's development. Like, they are living in 1922 down there.
No, listen, I'm not judging.
And the White Clan they don't get it. They don't get our show. They don't get Jimmy. He's the pride of the White Clan. Like this, and
you need to remind everybody.
They wouldn't be able to rap.
Yeah.
If you spit,
Make that clear.
If you spit, his last name's White.
White Clan from Alberta. Like, Jesus Christ.
Well,
spell a clan with a C, right?
There's
Please
also a problem. His family owns a power company and they call it White Power, which is also an issue, but we can move on from
that.
There.
Is not a representation of Alberta.
He doesn't stop, Jimmy. He just keeps going.
No, they don't get it. They don't understand it. Like, they didn't understand us when we were joking about a winter corn fest. Like, their family was like,
fest.
what if people come in the winter? Corn fest is in the summer.
They can come
I don't
in the
understand
winter.
why you guys are lying about a corn fest.
We can name it In the Corn Fest.
That's a good porn name, actually.
In the Corn.
Yeah. You better hope your
With the
mother
Tabor
does
saber.
not find out how to watch podcasts, Jimmy.
I'm sending this to your mom. What's her email address? I'll clip it.
No.
I'll clip the audio because, dude, we're getting you into.
You have to put this on paper and mail it to her. It's Tabor.
Okay. We're doing. Can we just bring this up, Jimmy? This is what we're doing this year. Okay, I'm writing this down right now for you. New pen. You're doing a porno this year. You're going to put yourself out there as a bucket list item. Bucket list, Jimmy. That's the name of your porno. I love it.
And you're going to learn to wash your ass. Write that down too.
You're going to wash your shower too. Actually, this year. That's going to be a bucket list. And you're going to have intercourse with a pregnant woman. Intercourse, pregnant woman. Those are the three things we're doing this year, and you're going to live it out loud.
Coming on today, little buddy.
You're welcome, buddy.
This is a great promotion for your podcast about Star Wars. You know what's going to happen, Jimmy, after this year? You're not going to give a fuck about Star Wars. That's what's going to happen.
You'll be like, hey, Locke, I can't get over there because I got
podcasts about.
I'm a bucket list item with 3
tossing.
women tonight, and I'm making $1,800. That'll be you.
I don't
in
have
February. Time. You'll be too busy with being a bucket list item, slaying, and making money to even hang out with him. Dude, you might even quit radio.
We have to.
I'm serious. You might
he's
become
not allowed to quit
Edmonton's
radio.
little person gigolo. He can
He's
do
our
whatever
whole
he
show.
wants.
He's our whole show. You don't allow it. He's not allowed to quit job. Here's the thing about Jimmy. When you get another job in our company, you have to send it for approval. Can I write the one where you're going to Jim and Betty's house to fulfill their fantasy to sleep with a little person for $1,800?
Like the best was when I sent to upper management that I had a couple of strip gigs coming up. A couple of stagettes, and the boss says, "Don't send it to head office anymore. Just get it approved through me."
Our head guy.
Can you just do
that?
Note
to the program director. Can you please tell Jimmy to stop sending
to the president
stagette
of the company
dancing?
All right, Jimmy. Well, listen, it's going to be a great year. I want to thank you for your time. I also want to thank you for your openness. Thank you for your podcast, the Jedi Jimmy podcast. What is?
Can I say something about the podcast?
Yes,
though, my anniversary episode comes out on the 29th of this month.
What's in that?
Do we have a tease?
Yeah. We don't because here's the thing. You sent it to me via Dropbox. So like an hour before the show, I was getting ready to load the clip in, and it's like the owner of this Dropbox account isn't allowing anybody to download the video. So
I wonder.
No big deal.
Why, so there's another person that can't figure out how to use Dropbox. Yeah. Interesting.
But let's get to the anniversary episode. What is in it? Because you've done a great job covering a whole bunch of different Star Wars series. We've had a lot of them. By the way, loved Andor. It was my favorite, even better than Mandy. I thought it was fucking awesome.
So what it is, in my anniversary podcast, I just talk about all the stuff I've talked about over the last years, just quick highlights. It's just a quick little talking piece, but then there's video clips because my podcast is like yours, not only audio, but there's a lot of visual. So it's lightsaber fighting. There's even me fighting a dog with a lightsaber, Army Chris's dog, actually. And then some locker room TV where one of my best friends makes fun of my podcast for 5 minutes.
For your own good. For your own good.
Is there any slowed down Jimmy? Did you put
yes, actually, the clip I sent Dean has slowed down Jimmy.
Can't open it. Yeah,
that's my favorite.
Ask the owner of this file for permission to share it with others, is what it says. So I can't download.
Just delete it. Delete it. Dropbox doesn't work.
It sounds like
there's 4 people in Canada still using it, and Jimmy's one of them. I don't know what that was.
It sounds like a sore spot for Lachlan and Dean.
Oh, it drives me crazy.
You never know what pisses him off either. Oh my God, hang on. I think I actually hacked into it. I think I might have it. Okay, this is Slowed Down Jimmy. Is that what we're going to watch right now?
The tail end of it is, yeah.
What is Slowed Down Jimmy? Explain what Slowed Down Jimmy is.
Locke slows me down on Adobe.
I'll explain it. I'll explain it after.
Just
play it, and then I'll explain it afterwards.
All right. We're going to do it with audio from this show as well, just so you know. It's yeah.
Are we really?
We can't not. You can't not do it. The way
Have
they
Jimmy
do
on
it,
and not slow down.
Yeah. The way they do it over there is anytime you slow Jimmy down, he sounds as though he's about 10 bells deep.
Well, he sounds they do. So you do it on purpose to him, Locke?
Yeah.
Oh,
I take his audio file and then I pitch it.
Yeah. Just
and I have pitched everybody you can think of, and nothing touches Jimmy. There's just something about his cadence and his delivery.
Let's watch it.
Pausing.
Let's watch it.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Here's an example of the magic that you're going to get from Jimmy's Star Wars pod.
Now, Boba Fett had a couple of awesome quotes.
Come on.
In the first episode, it was Jabba ruled with fear. I rule with respect. And
we're not done yet.
In episode 2,
big pause.
Another great quote was, fate sometimes steps in to rescue the wretched.
That's good stuff.
Nice work,
Jimmy.
I'm gonna
have to listen.
Okay.
In real life, it's not that slow.
Okay, that's
Easy to understand.
from the
That's what I like.
Jedi Jesus.
Professional broadcaster Lachlan Cross.
Jimmy Jedi Jimmy Jesus.
We may have been drinking that morning.
Yeah. I think
Were you in your pajamas there, Jimmy?
That was when he had COVID.
Yeah, you were in your pajamas in that one. It was
all right.
No, I just wasn't wearing pants.
He had to do shows from home there for a week.
Well, that's right, because you went out and
I think
got
it was almost 2 weeks.
Shittered and got COVID and stuff. I remember that.
He went to a party at a bar where they shut the doors at midnight and
had a big COVID party. He got COVID.
Big illegal party.
And
it's no word of a lie. And everybody was like, don't tell Lachlan. Don't tell Lachlan. And then I found out about it afterwards. And I'm like, oh, you guys are all going to get COVID. I don't know why you did it. And everybody got COVID. There was like 3 people in our building that went. Like the entire place
Didn't
got
somebody
COVID.
die?
One woman almost. She was in the hospital. She got so sick from that.
Well, at least she got to defy the law for
Worth it.
an evening, and almost die. I mean, and
Worth
good for
it.
you guys. Yeah, that was so worth it. Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That
great
is
to see
not
you,
a
Jim.
representation of Alberta.
Yes, it is. That is Alberta in a nutshell. Fuck it. Let's do it anyway. Anyway, thanks for doing
Jimmy's
this, James.
podcast. He releases it every week, usually on Fridays now. And if there's something happening Star Wars related, Jimmy is on it right now with the break that we have in the Star Wars universe, which isn't long because I think something's coming back here in February. Jimmy's been reviewing the Willow series, which is a movie that's very close to Jimmy's heart. And so he's been breaking down, what are you, 4 episodes into the Willow podcast?
Yeah, 4 or 5, something like that.
So we got another one coming out tomorrow, right, on the Willow?
Yes.
Sorry, quick question. Is the person that distributes your podcast, did you want to tell me about that one at some point or no?
You get that clear?
You gotta let him know, Jimmy, that what you're doing. I told you this before. I've already given you.
I
shit
talked
for this.
to him about it. We already did that once
Willow?
before.
Had no idea. By the way, I watched the first 2 episodes, and the original Willow with Val Kilmer, one of my all-time favorite movies. So I'm kind of upset that you didn't tell me about it, because that was part of the deal, right? We'll do the podcast, but you got to tell me when you're doing it so we can tell people about it. So there are 4 episodes into this Willow review.
We talked about it 2 weeks ago.
I don't remember. I was probably
when you called the show.
It was probably high.
When you called our radio show.
Yeah. Well, dude, have you called your radio show? It's like you can't get a word in, and when
chaos.
you do, you just hear voices. I didn't hear you say anything about Willow. But I'm happy you're doing it. Next time, just let me know. Shoot me a note. Super simple, right? Just text
At least
me.
I told you about that. That's because you were mad at me when you talked about it before, because you said, "Why didn't you tell me I'm distributing your podcast?"
Yeah.
And then. So why else do you think I didn't tell you about my anniversary?
I like the fact
issue?
that we're giving somebody shit for not telling somebody after we just spent the first 40 minutes with him talking about his fetish.
Maybe we didn't let him tell us.
It's probably the reason
surprising me without like.
You didn't like that surprise, Jimmy? You didn't want to talk to a woman who owns a massage parlor who can find you a pregnant girl to have intercourse with? Okay.
I never said that, but it was a little bit.
It was a hijacking. It's what I do.
So we'll see
He's
you in
going to make a
January,
mess
right?
of the Den of Sadness as soon as we get off this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I'm making a mess right now. See?
With the 4 of us on it?
Gross. Wow. Gross. Don't masturbate on the show, Jimmy. Wait till we're done. I've talked about this several times. He's doing it again, isn't he? He's masturbating on the show again, isn't he?
All right.
He's doing it again.
That's it. Have a great day. James P. White at JP White 957 on Twitter is where you can follow him. At Lachlan Cross, follow him. They are the hosts and co-hosts of The Locker Room, one of Edmonton's best radio shows, the best rock radio show in this country. I highly suggest people stream it if you get a chance.
Stream it.
957cruisefm.ca. JP White, Lachlan Cross. Thanks for doing this, boys. That is Ryan Lindley from the Linds Report. At Ryan Lindley. You're back tomorrow, right? You're back tomorrow. Yo, you're right there.
Yeah, I thought I saw Jimmy's thing, and I kind of got excited.
His dinger.
Yeah, I thought his dinger came out there. His tripod. Yeah, I'm back tomorrow. There's also a new Linds Report out either tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Oh.
A little bit of a Christmas edition, and yeah. Then we're
Awesome.
back with Adam Scorgi, I believe, tomorrow, aren't we?
Adam Scorgi, 4 p.m. tomorrow at The Scourge. He's a documentarian, and he's helping us with our documentary.
Yes, he is.
Interesting, isn't it? Interesting how it all comes full circle. Yeah, that's right. So Scourge tomorrow. You'll be back tomorrow. Great to see you, brother. At Ryan Lilly on Twitter. Give him a follow. We'll talk to you soon. Oh, anytime. Always welcome. That's it for us. Have a great day. Appreciate everybody being here. Don't forget, you can get everything we do at DeanBlundell.com. Want to thank our friends and partners, specifically Cantork.com today. Colin Livingston and his group of machinists, engineers. They make Canada's most rugged, hardworking, beautiful torque wrenches. Canada's leading industrial tool expert. They offer you the very best sales, service, rentals, calibration, maintenance, custom fabrication of industrial torque tools. No matter the scale of that bolting project, they have your solution. Please visit Cantork.com if you're looking for legitimately a rental, a calibration, some maintenance of equipment, whether you have a tool, a fastener, loosener fastener that doesn't work and you need a better application for it. Canadian-made products, Canadian guys. Colin's in Mexico right now enjoying time with his family, but he's always on his phone. Dude, I talk to this guy every day. He is as tricked out as you can get for the business of what he does, which is solving people's problems with Canada's best assembly torque wrenches. Go to Cantork.com for more information today. Also want to thank Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Just kidding. He's not a sponsor of the show. No, I want to thank our friends at edsfineimports.com. He makes the best underwear on the planet. Gitch, promo code Gitch, luxury branded underwear. Here's your promo code Gitch3. Use that promo code. Enter it in when you check out after buying some clothes for men and boys. That's what Ed's Fine Imports does, and they have their own luxury branded boxer briefs, pouch in the front, super breathable. They move with you. They'll be the best underwear you buy, guaranteed. You get a free pair from them when you order 3 or more. Promo code GITCH3, edsfineimports.com. And last but not least, our friends at Kevlar. That's right. Defense attorneys are really hard to find, especially really good ones. And if you're up against it legally and you've got an issue that's hanging over your head and you want to be able to reach out to somebody that you know is going to have your back, can manage the way that the legal system works, and can also manage your expectations to get you free from the thing you did or did not do, there's only one guy I trust. His name's Rob Kivlikin. Email him today, robert@kivlaw.ca. If you're going through it, you're in Southern Ontario and you just want to have a guy to talk to, I can get, dude, the conversation's free. It's all you got to do is talk to him. You don't need to do anything. He will help you or find someone who can. He is the guy that you need in your corner when you're going through it in any kind of legal issue. That is my friend, Rob Kivlikin. Send him an email today. rob@kivlaw.ca. Check out Kivlaw Defense Attorneys online at kivlaw.ca today. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow's our last show for a while. Adam Scorgi is going to join us, documentary, and we're going to talk about that. We got some Christmas shit to get to as well, so that'll be it for us. No Elon today. It was an Elon-free show. Really enjoyed it, actually. See ya.